Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Nurhan Magdi from Mustafa Azhar School. Now we start with curriculum for primary 6. We start with STEAM 3, change and stability. Concept 1 about energy transfer through the water cycle. How do water, wind, and sunlight affect energy transfer in the water cycle? The sun is considered the most important source that drives the water cycle. Sunlight provides the energy needed to melting ice and changing it into liquid water. Evaporation liquid water to form water vapor, generating the wind movement there where winds causes ocean currents that transport water to different locations on Earth. Water cycle. This picture to show water cycle. Energy transfer in the water cycle leads to increasing or decreasing the level of water in some lakes. There was a large salt lake in Turkey. By passing time, this lake became like a small puddle, and sometimes it dries up completely in summer. This lake hosts huge number of flamingos that migrate and reproduce there when the weather warm. Flamingos feed on algae that found in shallow water of this lake. The energy transfer in the water cycle leads to complete drought of this lake due to increase in the evaporation of lake in water in summer. So scientists try to discover ways to conserve and rehabilitate the ecosystem at this lake and protect it from climate change. Energy transfer in the water cycle. Water cycle contains 3 processes and 2 steps. Three processes are evaporation process, condensation process, precipitation process. And two steps are runoff and collection. Evaporation process is the process in which matter changes from liquid state to gas state. What is the meaning of condensation process? Condensation process is the process in which matter changes from gas state to liquid state. Precipitation process. What the meaning of precipitation process? It is the process in which water falls on earth in the form of rain, sleet, snow, or hail. After precipitation happens in the water cycle can be affected by 2 steps, which are runoff and collection. Runoff, it is the step in which water flow along the Earth's surface into river and then into ocean or seas. Collection, it is the step in which rainwater falling on the Earth's surface is collecting in different water bodies. Distribution of solar energy. The amount of solar energy that reach the Earth differ from one place to another on the Earth's surface. The distribution of solar energy on Earth's surface play an important role in evaporation process in the water cycle, where the regions of Earth's surface can be classified into hottest region, moderate region, coolest region. Hottest region, moderate region, coolest region. Hottest region, they are regions in which the evaporation process is the greatest. Moderate region, they are regions in which evaporation process is moderate. Coolest region, they are regions in which the evaporation process is the smallest. Lesson 2. What is meant by the water cycle and what are factors affecting it? Water cycle is the continuous water among different water reservoirs. Water reservoirs, they are storage location of water on Earth. Water reservoirs include ocean, seas, lakes, river, glaciers, soil, rocks, living organisms, atmosphere. Again, ocean, seas, lakes, river, glaciers, soil, rocks, living organisms, atmosphere. The main process and step that move water among these reservoirs are evaporation, condensation, precipitation, runoff, and collection. All this process and step depend on energy and force. Energy, the sun is the most important source of energy that affects the water cycle. The sunlight or solar energy that comes from sun includes thermal energy that causes the changes of state of water through water cycle, where when ice change into water, it gains thermal energy. Ice solid state change into water liquid state. When water change into when water change into water vapor, it gains thermal energy. Wind is another type of force that affects the movement of water, not energy or force only. Water starts to move or change its way of movement when a force affects it. There is a main force that affects the water cycle, which is gravity and wind. When the type of forces that control the water cycle. Gravity, like falling of melting ice crystal and water droplets found in clouds back to the Earth's surface. This leads to flowing of liquid water downhill into streams and river towards larger water bodies. Flowing of water in solid state in glaciers from higher altitude area to lower altitude, where the frozen water melts and flows into ground or the water bodies. Leakage of liquid water down into ground, then to groundwater reservoirs, flowing of groundwater from higher altitude area to lower altitude areas, like this photo. We can conclude that thermal energy that comes from the sun and the gravity force or factor affect the movement of water in the water cycle. Energy in and the water cycle. From the previous activities, you have known that when water changes from one state to another, it gains or absorbs or loses thermal energy. Gaining or losing energy affects the water particles in the air. The movement of air from one place to another in the presence of difference in temperature lead to changing liquid water to water vapor, and this process known as evaporation. Changing of water vapor to liquid water in the form of water droplets, and this process is known as condensation. Transfer of energy. Condensation and freezing are two processes occur when water particles lose thermal energy. Melting, evaporation, and transpiration take place in plant leaves or process occur when water particles gain thermal energy. What is the meaning of evaporation? Evaporation through the water cycle. The sun heats water in ocean, seas, lakes, rivers, streams, and other water bodies. This leads to evaporation of water and the changing it into water vapor due to gaining thermal energy. Transpiration, it is a type of evaporation that takes place through the stomata on the plant's leaf. About 10% of water vapor in the air comes from transpiration of plants. Example of transpiration. Bring two plants differ in size, like this. Put one them in direct sunlight and the other in shadow area. Tie around a leaf from each plant a plastic bag. What do you notice? Water droplets formed inside each of the two bags. The sunlight affects the amount of transpiration of plants, where when the amount of the energy comes from sun increase, the transpiration in plants' leaf increases. Condensation occurs when the air that's saturated with water vapor cools due to decreasing of air temperature. So the water vapor change into liquid water. Clouds are formed where they consist of tiny water droplets that are condensed in the air, so water vapor releases its energy and it changes into liquid water. How clouds are formed? Clouds are formed due to condensation of water vapor into water droplets. that attach particles of dust due to smoke in the air. When large numbers of these water droplets join together, they form clouds. Clouds are formed from millions of tiny droplets of water. When these water droplets become too heavy, they fall in the form of rain. Lesson 3. Importance of water. Human, animal, and plants need fresh water to survive. Most of plants depend on rain that falls from the clouds in the sky to grow. Most of plants depend on rain that falls from the clouds in the sky to grow. The water cycle in nature. The water cycle provides water for all living organisms and regulates weather on our planet. Nature recycles water where the water cycle includes the continuous movement of water from their different resources to the atmosphere. Then this water finally back to Earth in the form of rain, sleet, snow. The process and steps that form and affect the water cycle, which are evaporation, condensation, precipitation, collection, and runoff. Give reason for the total amount of water on Earth doesn't change even if water changes from one state to another, because it can replaced or recycled through the water cycle. In this figure, we will explain how water moves through the water cycle from water body to the atmosphere, then back to Earth's surface to start the water cycle. Evaporation, the heated liquid over ocean. The heated liquid water over ocean, lakes, and river evaporates and changes into water vapor. Condensation, the water vapor rises to the atmosphere, then it cools and condenses into water droplets in the form of liquid. Precipitation, the water falls to the earth in the form of rains, sleet, snow, or hail. Runoff, the water flow along the Earth's surface into the river and then into ocean or seas. Collection, water collects in streams, river, lakes, ocean. Then it evaporates and the water cycle starts again. You have learned from the previous studies that there are different ways of heat transfer. Convection, one of these ways. Convection, it is a process in which heat transfer in liquid and gases where hot molecules rise up. Hot molecules have less density while colder molecules have higher density. Example, the heat of the sun transfers from space to Earth's atmosphere by radiation. This heat can transfer through Earth's atmosphere and also by convection in the form of convection currents. The unequal heating of lands and ocean causes difference in temperatures and densities in water of ocean and atmosphere. Convection in liquid and gases. When a liquid or gas is heated, it expands and becomes less dense and lighter, so it rises upward, while the cold liquid or gas is more dense, so it moves downward and replaces the warm liquid or gas. The warm liquid or gas that moves upward and the cold liquid or gas that moves downward from a cycle of convection current. The force of gravity helps in the rising and falling of different densities of liquid and gas, which lead to rotating the convection currents, causing the formation of winds and ocean currents. Note, convection currents in the Earth's atmosphere help in determining the regional climate. The relationship between convection and condensation. Convection causes the rising of temperature of air that contain water vapor. Condensation happens when this rising air loses its heat and the cold water vapor changes into water droplets. And finally, this leads to formation of clouds. You have learned that in previous activities that condensation and freezing are two processes occur when water particles lose thermal energy. Evaporation, melting, and transpiration are processes when water particles gain thermal energy. Gravity is a force that affects the movement of water in the water cycle. Getting closer to the equator or moving away from it affects the weather, where the weather near the equator is hot and humid. The weather of the area as we move away to north and south of the equator depend on the temperature and precipitation at this area, where the weather could be warm and humid or the weather could be freezing cold. Note, some areas on the earth have very little rains and this causes the formation of large areas of deserts. Now let's study how inclination of sun rays affect the weather. In the figure 1, when sun perpendicular on Earth's surface in the area near the equator concentrated on a small area giving a high effect of heat, so the weather is hot. In figure 2, when the sun rays fall semi-inclined or semi-slanted on the Earth's surface, the area of the north and south of the equator, the sun rays are distributed on a large giving low effect of heat, so the weather is warm. In figure 3, when the sun rays fall very inclined on the Earth's surface in the area far away from equator, the sun rays distributed on a very large area giving lowest effect of heat, so the weather is very cold. Lesson 4. You have learned from the previous activity that convection is the type of heat transfer where hot molecules, less dense, rise upward, while colder molecules, more dense, fall down. Convection and gravity force affect the movement of water through the water cycle. In this activity, we will do an experiment to show how convection and gravity force affect the water cycle. Tools: cold water and hot water, two similar glass jars, small tub, food coloring, thin plastic sheet. Steps: fill one completely with hot water and fill the other jar completely with cold water. Add yellow food coloring to hot water and blue food coloring to cold water. Place the jar of hot water in the tub. Cover the jar of cold with thin plastic sheet. Turn the jar of cold water upside down and place it one on the top of the jar of hot water, where the opening of the two jars are touching and separating by the thin plastic sheet. Case 1. Remove the thin plastic sheet gently. What do you observe? Observation: the yellow and blue water are mixing, producing green color. Repeat the steps by placing the jar of cold water and the bottom of the jar of hot water at the top, like case number 2. Observation: the yellow and blue water don't mix. Explanation: convection currents are the reason for mixing of water in case 1, where the hot water molecules less density rise upward, while the colder water molecules more density fall down by the help of gravity force. Not mixing of water in case number 2, where the less dense hot water molecules are at the top and the more dense colder water molecules are at the bottom, so mixing doesn't occur. Conclusion: convection currents, and the gravity force affects the movement of water through the water cycle. Earth's wind Earth has a global wind system that consists of winds blow in a constant direction over a long period of time. Wind is a main factor in determining weather and climate. Daily weather conditions depend on wind, where it carries heat, moisture, rain, snow, dust, and sand. So the change in wind causes a change in weather. Unequal heating of Earth between poles and equator generates wind. Wind helps in transporting water through water cycle by carrying water vapor or by forming of ocean currents. What are the factors that determine the wind direction? Amount of solar radiation that reach the Earth, rotation of the Earth. What does wind form? Wind is generated when the warm air rises upward by the effects of sun's radiation, and it is replaced by cooler air that flows from nearby areas where if the warm air contains enough amount of water vapor during its rising, the water vapor condenses so the air loses this water in the form of rain. At the same time, cooler air masses flow from nearby area to replace the rising warm air. When the warm air flows away from its place to another one, it cools and descants. By the time it reaches the Earth's surface again and it becomes dry. This dry air forms a group of dry deserts around the Earth. Then the air flows back again to the same place. What would happen if there is no wind on Earth? The region around the equator become extremely hot and the poles will completely freeze. Some ecosystems will change completely. Some ecosystems may disappear completely. Now we finish concept 1. Thank you for listening.